Moon in 2009, directed by Duncan Jones, who is the son of David Bowie. A little fact there. Written by Nathan Parker, starring Sam Rockwell. What'd you think?
Bowie, really? Duncan Jones is Bowie's son?
Yes, David Bowie is his, well, the late David Bowie is
Okay.
Duncan Jones' dad.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. I think I finished it like 15 minutes ago, and then I was over here just making some coffee. It's one of those movies for me, just off the cuff like this. I wish I had a little more time to digest. It's just so fresh. I I thought it was good. I think it's incredible what Sam Rockwell did in this. Basically, like you said, a one man show and playing multiple characters throughout it. I wanna revisit it and either watch it again or read a little bit more about it. There are some themes that are intriguing to me that I'd like to talk about. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I'm not going to put it there as like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the best movie I've ever seen, which I did kind of get that feedback. The little bit I read before watching it from a lot of people, I don't really get that for me as an immediate reaction. But the theme that struck me the most is the exploitation of people through giant corporations, which I think, as time passes, we can all kind of, increasingly relate to, and the pitfalls and dangers of this. And this is obviously next level stuff, but to me, it doesn't seem too far fetched. What's going on here, what they're mining helium on the moon to bring back as, a very valued resource now on Earth, right? That's essentially what's going on.
I didn't quite get that part, actually. You probably got it better than I did. That sounds right.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is it. Forgive us, listener, if we sound like complete idiots here, but I'm going to try on this one not to. Okay, the one thing that I wanted to bring up to you, I don't know if you had a chance to research this, and I don't think it could have been too big, but it looked visually like it was a really big budget movie just from the set pieces and everything. It was visually, it was quite incredible to watch. But I do remember this coming out, or I remember hearing about it, and obviously it doesn't have a big time A-list, movie star as the lead. So I don't think they probably paid Sam Rockwell too much money to be in this. But do you know what the budget was behind the production?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Well, the budget for the movie was $5 million, and then
$5 million?
Yeah, which is insanely low.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. What blew me away was exactly what you're getting into. Is it looked really well done for the budget they had. They shot it in 33 days. They used some set pieces from a scrapped film. I forget what the name of it was. And then some they did in real time. And they had the Aliens, the guy from Aliens who did the set pieces for Aliens help out. Yeah, I thought it looked really good. It aged well, considering the nothing budget it had.
That's incredible. I think they spent $5 million on Lifetime movies. Wow. Yeah, the little space station that he was in, just the attention to detail there. It looked like, it was kind of pristine in certain areas. But it was worn, and you could tell that it was lived in. Yeah, man, that's mind blowing that was only made for $5 million.
Yeah, it impressed me too.
Yeah, I mean, back to how I thought it, my mind wasn't blown by it. It kind of seemed like an elevated, it could have been, I love the show Black Mirror. I know you've probably never seen it. It reminded me of a longer episode of Black Mirror, elevated a little bit, a few notches, with kind of a cool twist at the end. I didn't really see that coming, but, as just someone who really enjoys a good twist in a movie, which I do, I would have liked to have been like, oh my God, a little bit more than I was. But yeah, I'll circle back to some things. What do you think?
Yeah, no, again, we talked about the set, which was pretty amazing. And it's funny you say the Black Mirror episode elevated. That's a great way of putting it, actually. It seemed kind of Twilight. What if that got extended to a full, and they actually had done that. Like the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits had their own films.
Yeah.
So it felt like that. The plot I thought it was an interesting take. Although the clone thing, did you watch Oblivion with Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Yeah, there were clones in that one too.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. One thing about tropes. Now, Duncan Jones says he wanted to pay homage to his old favorite, sci-fi movies. But why is it always these tropes? One of them is always like the trucker's cap or the ball cap. I know it's more maintenance cap he's wearing, but they always have like this kind of like good old boy casual wear, like You see the Alien Covenant, you see it in The Martian with, Matt Damon. There's always this thing where they have like an old music or old movies from like the 70s or whatever, and it's like some sort of like hat tip. I'm like, why? Why does every single character throughout like every space, movie have that? Not everyone, but a lot of them. It's kind of an annoying trope for me.
Well, I think you have to have a mechanic. It's necessary, right? And who's going to embody a mechanic better than someone like Danny McBride in the latest Alien movie? Something like that. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
And that's one part of it. Yeah, the one part of it is the character, and the other part is like and oh look, I like to watch, I Love Lucy episodes now that I'm in space, and it's like, why that?
Yeah.
Why that time period? Well, and the answer is probably because the directors are from that time period or whatever. But it ruins immersion because I've seen it so much. It's unfortunate. I've seen it too many space movies where I'm like, okay, here we go, right? Or like an old song, Walking on Sunshine, like, oh, here we go. It's just, okay, we're just gonna play this. I don't know. It's a minor gripe.
Yeah.
It seems right.
I love Sam Rockwell. I really do. But something for me about him is just, dude, you like straight up visually his essence, just like you're in a trailer park and you've got a stained wife beater. That's just who you are. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I always see him. He just plays that so well. And maybe it's because my first impression of him was in Green Mile. I don't know if you remember that. He just knocked that character out of the park. But anyways, not to, take up where you're going, but I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that too, because my favorite performance for him was in Galaxy Quest.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, he was great in that.
Another thing I have too, this is me just again picking. I know we should talk about the overall film, but why do they always show the ass of a dude taking a shower?
You don't like that? I love that.
I don't think women go to a Sam Rockwell film thinking he's a sex pot, right?
Yeah.
Why do they show that?
Well, you might be surprised. I mean, he's got a banger of a wife, man. She's cute. But yeah, I did notice Rockwell's tush and his butt. And it looked like he was preparing for that, or he had prepared for it. He knew he was going to do the the ass scene, so he was doing the squats, man.
Yeah, it's always odd to me. Rockwell did do great. He carried this movie, and the two characters he made distinct, which were both him, and it's interesting how he made them distinct because one of them had that anger and violence from before, or his unresolved issues. And if you remember, his wife said it's been good for him being away because it's like gave him a chance to figure himself out. Mm-hmm. So the 3 year later Sam Rockwell was calmer, where the other one was more, brash, which fits because the characters would be like that. And so I thought that was really interesting how he did that. He carried that well to performance. Some of the dialogue was kind of weird. Like, do the whole I'm going to Mexico or I'm going to Hawaii, aloha. Some of like I'd call it like the carryover dialogue was not amazing.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I thought about that as through some of the dialogue and kind of thinking, well, how do we talk to ourselves when we're alone? And it's really kind of unusual. At least it is for me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people. And this guy, he's been there for almost 3 years. And I just feel like that would have been such an interesting thing character-wise to do, to not go off the rails with it, but had this really unusual out loud chatter that you have with yourself. And maybe that would have been a cool thing to explore a little bit more, just from an authenticity perspective of this character. That I thought maybe, I was surprised they didn't, turn up the volume a little bit on something weird like that. Yeah,
and I could see. I agree. I see that that's one angle too, and then the other angle I was more referencing is like him and his other self. Like, yeah, their interactions are just odd. And I don't need to completely explain it. Isn't the all exposition, but where's the whole or him being sick, what's wrong? Take you to the infirm. There was just different things I would have written in. It was odd interactions between them. They were getting to the plot, but also avoiding it. It was just odd in some spots. But Rockwell did great. I like the overall look into these themes and ideas. Would corporations do something like that? Mm-hmm. What does it mean when Sam Rockwell comes back or the clones come back? I think we all know that they all have they have like a 3 year window apparently, right? Because that one starts deteriorating. That's my guess. What about you?
Yeah, there are a lot of themes that you could kind of explore, and one popped in my head. And this is maybe just this crazy theory about, it's actually this guy, he's in a vegetative state and he's terminally ill, and him dying, or almost dying or getting sick was, eventually accepting the, inevitability of his death. Just kind of a thought, because it was kind of dreamlike, the whole thing. And what is it called? Determinism? what is it? It's the theme. I think it's the definition of there's no free will.
I think it is determinism. Yeah.
But obviously that, is broken here when you bring cloning into any discussion. You think, well, are you going to make the same exact decisions than your previous body, your previous self? And so I thought it was cool how, they shot that in the foot pretty quickly, and he was obviously a different person each time, but with the same love and the same emotions and a lot of the same personality characteristics, but he was making different decisions. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that too. The look into how everyone's different, because I started doing the whole soul thing. I'm like, okay, if you are a believer in God, then you figured out how to crack the code and you made, people. Like, you figured out how to actually clone people, which is God's power. But what if he still has a say? What if they also get assigned a soul, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? And so it is interesting that's, I don't know, potentially what happened there.
Yeah, it really is. What do you think about that? Like, I mean, do you think if that was plausible, if that was realistic in the future, if someone could potentially go to space and work for a year, 2 years alone, which probably wouldn't happen in that capacity, and that's kind of why I go to the theory of he was dreaming, because I just don't feel like that would be the way things are set up, is they would have one person there. I think they would at least have 2 or 3 people there working, so you didn't go crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I mean, the theme of solitary confinement is touched on so many levels in so many movies, and to me it seems like one of the worst tortures that you can go through as a person who needs human contact and human interaction.
I thought that part was kind of weak. Like, he's by himself on the moon. Why?
Yeah.
Why is he by himself on the moon? Like, for what reason? That was never really explained. And
Yeah.
so to go back to what I had a couple ago, the clone falling apart. That's my theory, is every 3 years they die anyway, right? And that's why he was so sick. Because remember, he was really sick and he starts bleeding, his teeth start falling out. My theory is that every clone, besides them inevitably dying in the zapping machine that they go in there, that kills them basically,
Yeah.
or ends them, is they deteriorate after 3 years.
That seemed pretty logical, I guess, to me. We're not at human cloning. Hopefully we never are. But again, back to the terminally ill thing, like, as things were happening to him that would kind of happen to someone who was had a terminal illness, like the coughing up blood and losing teeth you're not supposed to lose, and just the very sick and lethargic, it completely zapped of all energy. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I guess it is kind of, and I think it's made to be like classic, sci-fi, like, well, what do you think? And there is no answer in the end.
Right, exactly. And that's what it is. Yeah, there is no answer. There's not supposed to be, but it's kind of fun to speculate, I guess. But, for me, it was, again, I wasn't blown away. It was impressive. I think Jesus, I mean, now I'm even way more impressed. The fact that it was made on $5 million. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was his debut as a director. It's amazing.
Man, and he also did Source Code, right?
Yeah, which I liked a lot.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't understand, and they didn't explain, who the hell was the girl in the beginning that pops up?
I think it was his daughter, wasn't it?
I thought it was, because then you see the daughter near the end finally, and so.
So, okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of didn't think about that until just now. Maybe it was sort of a memory that went through the ether somehow and came into him as a clone of seeing his daughter on the video in a previous form of himself. Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was his daughter. I'm not totally sure. I'm gonna have to go back and check on that.
Yeah, I want to look too. That would be, I would like that one better, because it would show what caused the chain to break down. Like, why did it break down for what? Like, why did it? Well, obviously he got in the accident, but he got in the accident because of seeing the mirage of that woman.
Yeah.
Which presumably is his daughter.
Well, yeah, I actually do love that theme, because then, you don't give too much in there. And I mean, it shows you, it's completely evident that love is the most powerful thing known to man, known to humans. And it really has no bounds. So maybe that's the only thing that can get through to another version of himself, was that image and that love that he had that was completely unbreakable. I really like that, actually.
Note to listeners, Matt is a huge, huge fan of Interstellar. So any chance there is to use space and love, he's going to jump on it.
Oh my God. So yeah, for the listener, we watched, I don't even remember what the last review we did was. Actually, I'm kind of embarrassed by that. Was it Assassination of Jesse James? Was that the last one?
I think so. So
Okay,
that
so
was
I
fine.
suggested Annihilation at the end, and we kind of, we went back and forth a little bit. Not that anyone really gives a shit, I'm sure, because we've got massive listeners right now, but we changed our minds after I suggested Annihilation, and we went with Moon. The reason we went with Moon is, ironically, you sent me a text and asked if I had seen it, and I think it was 2 or 3 days before, I was around another guy I know here in New York, and I was telling him how much I love Interstellar, and he was like, "Oh, dude, you should watch Moon." And then you sent me that text. It was just like, done. We're watching Moon. So that's why we're doing this.
That makes a lot of sense. You and Interstellar love. I need to watch Interstellar
Oh,
again.
come on, man. Yeah,
I want to play this game. You know, I love the Nolans. I love the
yeah.
Nolans. I love the Nolans. I it missed for me. It seemed like what it was, which was it was written by Christopher Nolan instead of his brother, who's the more capable writer. Last thing I have in my notes too is what was a robot's motivation? They say to help him, right? But then let's be clear, help who? Help every clone? Because in the end, they're going to revive a clone and kill it, if you remember, which is the opposite of his mission. So what was the freaking robot's motivation? Why'd he help out? I mean, one you could say is because he wants to show that he too, it's showing that even the robot's aware, right? Like he matters, and so he's helping something else that seems simulated or programmed, and he wants to show he's not. I don't know. They didn't really give the robot's motivation, so. Or in this case, Kevin, the voice.
Kevin Spacey, it was a good robot voice. Yeah, but it was very Kevin Spacey. Very much.
Yep. In fact, there's a cut scene where he molests a little boy in the background. So yeah.
It's on the Blu-ray.
He has commentary over it.
Okay. Well, that's a good note to end on. Let's get the scores, man. We could, kind of plot around this whole thing all day, but I think we've done our damage.
Yep. 7.
Do you serious?
Yeah, 7 out of 10. I thought it was good and a half, not great. It was good.
Okay.
Rockwell, again, I like Rockwell a lot. I really do. So.
Yeah, he can nail that every man for sure. I saw him on Broadway in A Fool for Love, and he was, talk about having respect for an artist. I'm going to give it a 7 too. I had 7. I had 7 before, but I'm bumping it up 0.2 because of the budget, man. I still am shocked by that. I'm going to have to go back and read more.
That is kind of crazy what they did. It's not crazy. It's really crazy. I saw that too, and I was like, damn. And then their costs. I mean, paying the actor and the camp, the $5 million for what it seemed would usually be like your background, like for food, catering.
That's catering on a Marvel movie. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably not even. It's probably less than the catering budget on a Marvel movie.
Yeah, so impressive that way.
Good for them. Okay, so we did it. Whose turn is it to pick? It's yours, right? You're picking the next one?
Yeah, it is mine, isn't it?
Are you ready? Do you have a list in front of you?
I can pull up my list in front of me. Actually, I have one.
Can we try to keep it under 2.5 hours?
Under 2.5 hours. What did we watch that was over 2.5 hours?
Fucking Jesse James, man. Yeah.
Oh god, you goaded me into that one. I don't want to hear it. The Guest.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, that's up to you, man.
Inside Barton Fink.
I've seen Barton Fink. I've seen Llewellyn Davis. I've seen The Guest. I've seen all 3 of those.
Sunset Limited. Ooh, Sunset Limited.
Okay.
Oh, that's gonna fuck with me too in a good way.
Okay.
You'll like it. It's I'll tell you we don't want to know premise, dude.
No.
You want to know?
I don't want to watch a trailer. I don't want to know the plot. I just want to turn the movie on, and hopefully it'll be free somewhere. But if I have to pay for it, I'll rent it. So
don't do anything, because actually you will. This one will. I think I'm pretty excited. Don't do anything
for Sunset Limited. Okay. So for our a few listeners, what's Sunset Limited? What's what? Okay, don't say anything. Never mind. I'm fucking it up. All right.
It's a movie. I'll tell you the actors. It's a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson, and it's a thinking movie.
Okay,
dialogue.
It's new to me. It doesn't even ring a bell, which is exciting. So we're trying to watch all these movies if we haven't seen them. For anyone who cares, without watching trailers and just keeping it on the DL. So no expectations going in. Great. Okay, so Sunset Limited.
Let's do it.
Perfect. All right, man. So next week, that will be a thing. And yeah, we'll catch you then. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes in the links below.